In this recording, we are going to be looking at how two people can use Git and GitHub using the GitHub desktop app, the GitHub website, and specifically, we're going to be working with two people using RStudio and a nice feature of RStudio known as R project files. So to get started, we're going to have two roles between me and Brian making this app together. I'm going to be known as the role of the maintainer, which my responsibilities are going to be creating the repo and then making sure I like whatever code goes in there. Brian's job is going to be known as the contributor. And what Brian's going to be doing is taking a copy of my repo and contributing code back to my project. So to start as the maintainer, first we need to create a repository, a repo for short, to do all this work in. A repo is just a fancy word that Git uses for essentially a folder that you might create files in on your desktop. To start making a repo, we will mouse up to the plus sign in the top right-hand corner of GitHub. We can click on that and there's the option for new repository. Whenever this pops up, we then have the option to give our repo a name. I'm going to name this demo with Brian. The only restrictions on the name is that you can't put spaces in it. Git is very aggressive with this and will even tell you that, hey, I'm not taking that space. When making this description is optional. I'll leave this blank for now. Public, if you want people to see your work. If you are a student and looking for a future job, I highly encourage you to keep things public, show employers you're working with Git and GitHub. Next in this section, we'll want to be sure to click Add README and Add gitignore. And since we're going to be working with R, I'm going to go to the dropdown and type in an R and select the R gitignore file. License is totally optional. For this demo, I'm just going to leave that unselected. Whenever all those options are over and done with, we can go ahead and click Create Repository. So GitHub has just made a repo. I have a little extra option popping up there. This is our README file. If someone future coming through, maybe a recruiter comes and looks at this, this is essentially your home page that they can look at. To begin work on the project, I will click this code button and I'll use the option to open with GitHub desktop. And then finally just click the button to complete that opening with GitHub desktop. This window of GitHub desktop app has now popped open and it says, hey, here's the repo that you're about to download, known as cloning. And here's where we're going to put that repo on your machine. If I didn't like this location, I could click choose and go through different places on my machine to figure out where to put that. In my particular case, I like where this is stored, documents, GitHub folder, and it'll be in a folder called demo with Brian. So I'll go ahead and click clone, which is essentially what GitHub calls downloading a repo. And from here, the first step I want to do in any R project with Git is make an R project file. To do that, we can open up the RStudio app. Wait for this to open up. And then I'm going to go to the top right-hand corner. I've already got a project open for a different class. And I want to create a new project. Since I've cloned that repo, wait for this to spin for a second. Since I've already cloned that repo and it has an existing folder, we'll be choosing the existing directory option. And then I'll just want to use my file navigation after I click browse to find where that file is. Mine was in GitHub, and then I called this repo demo with Brian. So I'll select that and click open. Once I see the correct path in this location, I can click create project. So the great thing about this project file is now whenever Brian works with this in the future, he'll be able to quickly and easily open up my whole GitHub repo using this project, and it will open up in RStudio form. Back over to GitHub desktop app, and we see some changes. Git's job is to keep track of what files have changed. So I see over on my machine, it's saying we've added one file. We have a green plus sign indicating it's been added. It is my R project file. And here's all the goodies that come within that file that are out of scope for this particular demo. Now, whenever my file is ready to go, I can add in some description of my changes, create our proj file, and I can click the option of commit. Commit is essentially saving a piece of history to the GitHub timeline. In case we want to go back in time, we're going to go back based on which commit we want to go back to. My changes still aren't in GitHub. To push those up to the actual website GitHub to where someone like Brian or any other collaborator could see them, I'll finish my steps by clicking Push Origin. Now I can go back to the GitHub website. No changes at this particular time, but if I hit refresh, I can now see that I do have an R project file. That's what I just added 33 seconds ago. And if I looked under my commits, I can see my initial commit of creating the repo and me creating that R project file. And at this point, Brian could start collaborating with me on this project.
It's now my time to start collaborating with Adam on this project. So I'm over here on Adam's GitHub page. He has the repositories right here under this tab, and I can see the public repository demo with Brian. So the first thing I'm going to do right here is I'm going to fork the repository. Basically, forking it is going to allow me to create an alternative timeline here where I can start to make different commits to it. So let's go ahead and click the fork on the repository. After I fork the repository here, my next step is to basically put a local copy on my machine to work with. And this will be where I'm cloning the repository. Down here, I can bring it to my GitHub desktop with opening the GitHub desktop, which is going to allow me to clone it. Let's go ahead and bring it down to our GitHub desktop so we can start to work with this and make changes. If you'll notice right here, it's already cloning the repository for us in the GitHub desktop. We now have the ability to clone it, but there are some additional features that I'd want Adam to talk about here for a second. Let's go ahead and have Adam explain the features.
So once you see these two options come up, there's two possibilities of, are you cloning this repo? We notice it's a fork. So are you planning to contribute your changes back to the parent project, which is at Adam Spanbauer, demo with Brian? Or do you plan on just using this as starter code for your own project and never pushing it back into the original maintainer's repo? In general, when collaborating with others, you will select the top option. However, just one thing to point out, this third bullet says view on GitHub will open in the Adam Spanbauer place. So you want to make sure when you view on GitHub that you see your name / the name of the repo, not the original maintainer's name.
Thank you very much, Adam. Let's go ahead and hit continue right here. And we've now brought the repository down to our computer. Now, this is where we can really start to make the changes, and we need to basically open up where it's located, and that can be done very quickly right here with the Show in Explorer. So clicking Show in Explorer goes right to where it's located at on your computer, and we can go to the demo with Brian right here, and we want to click on the R project file. Now, the important thing about the R project file is it's going to open everything and kind of bring back this project where we were at, whether we're bringing back the environment, the R history, everything's going to be here in the R project file. So let's go ahead and open this, and this will start our studio for us and bring us into the R project that we've created together. Now, we have the files that are currently here, the get_ignore, the R project file, and the README that was created. Let's go ahead and start contributing to this and adding to it with putting in a new file. I'm going to go right here and just create an R script, which is just a .r file. And let's go here to Shiny and just use the snippet. Now we can create a very kind of blank Shiny snippet right here with a UI and a server with using the snippet. And we're just going to call this Shiny app. So let's go to File, Save As, and call it Shiny app. So this is just an R file that is a Shiny app, and it is now saved into our local version of this repository. So we haven't made any changes yet. We're going to need to go in and commit and push this to GitHub to actually make these changes before Adam approves them. So let's go back here over to the GitHub desktop app. And you'll notice immediately it sees what I've created right here. So it sees the file we've created, and it shows me all the changes right here. This is a new file with lines added in. So we're going to go right here, and it's already got a great name telling us the action that was done, create shinyapp.r. And let's put a description here, creation of starter Shiny app. So this right here is going to get it going locally, but we still have not made the push yet. Let's start the commit right here. And now we need to go back after clicking the push origin right here. As Adam was saying previously, I need to go to my page and push this through next. Let's go back over to the web page where we can be on our GitHub and see that on our GitHub, we are one commit ahead of Adam Spambower Master, which is the main branch. So to contribute right here, we need to actually open up a pull request. So let's go ahead and open up the pull request right here. And you'll notice everything we added in previously is in here in the pull request. We can also see the changes we've done when we do the comparison right here. And let's go ahead and create this pull request. Here we are with everything we've already input. And all we have to do is hit the create pull request and it'll go through to Adam Spambower.
All right, so now that Brian has made those contributions and opened up a pull request, back on the maintainer's version of the repo, I can refresh my page. And not only do I have a new notification over my little bell icon, I can also see in this particular section of pull request, there is now a 1 indicating that there is an open pull request. Or pull request, to define that term, Brian has requested some changes for me to pull in, requested changes to be pulled in. I can see the name of his pull request is Create Shiny App. I can see who it's by, and I can click into it to get deeper into review. If someone has made many commits to the timeline, I can see all of those listed here. I see the single commit Brian's made of Create shinyapp.r. And an important step to do is let's take a look at the files changed. So I can take a look at the code before I let this be merged in. Everything looks nice here. It looks to be a working minimal Shiny app skeleton. So everything's looking good. So me as the maintainer, I feel good about pulling these changes in. To actually complete Brian's contribution, I'll go back over to the conversation tab and I can click merge pull request. Note, there is 2 sections of this button. There is a drop-down arrow. Until we're more advanced, we'll just stick with clicking on the words merge pull request. We don't need to worry ourselves with these options over here. So I'll just click merge pull request. GitHub doesn't want you to accidentally make some changes you don't want, so it makes you confirm. It'll take a second and think. And now I see that I've merged that into my branch. To confirm that all this has happened, I can go back to my main page. I can click on code up here to do that. And I now see shinyapp.r. This was done 5 minutes ago. Even though I just merged it, it keeps the timeline of when this was originally made. And I can view the commits beneath this code button by clicking on for commits. And I can see Brian now appearing in my timeline. So I can see who's contributed, what work to this project, when they did it, and I can even click on the commit and see more in depth about their contribution. So at this point, Brian has successfully contributed, but there is one more step the contributor needs to do, especially if they plan to contribute to this project again. I'm now a step ahead, and as we'll switch over to Brian's screen, you'll see on his app that he's a step behind my branch.
You'll notice right here that we're on Adam Spambower's repository. With this, we've done 4 commits, but there's an issue. Currently, he's 1 commit ahead of me. Now, if you're working on team projects, you need to make sure you fetch and merge at all points to stay on that same cohesive timeline and that there's 1 cohesive project being built. So to make sure we're doing this, I'm going to go over here to my repository. And when I click in on this, you'll notice something. Over here, it says this branch is 1 commit behind. So I'm not on the same timeline right now, but I can fix that. We now have the option to fetch upstream. Clicking this gives us the fetch and merge right here. Let's go ahead and click fetch and merge, and you'll notice we are now joining back on that timeline, and we can now work on the project and be editing the same files.